You gave me a call yesterday and we had a discussion. And you basically, the question you posed to me was, how bad of a look would it be if CJ Carr went somewhere other than Michigan? Like Notre Dame, it sounds like signs are pointing that way, but how bad of a look it would be if he went somewhere else. And with that, I'll just kick it to you and let you go from there.
Yeah, well, as I was perusing the good old Twitter, I started to see, people retweeting or tweeting about CJ Carr, started to see his name hashtagged. And of course, I knew who CJ Carr was or is. He's a five-star quarterback, local kid, plays up at Saline. His grandfather's a legendary Lloyd Carr, brought a national title to Michigan. Their last national title in 1997, and of course, and also unfortunately, we knew about it's called the Chad Tuff Foundation, which is it's a foundation in honor of Lloyd Carr's grandson, who I believe passed away from cancer, and so like there's a lot of history, a lot of family history uh, when it comes to see the Carr family here in the University of Michigan. So when I started to see that CJ Carr's name was circulating, and I'm starting to see Notre Dame, go Irish hashtags with it, it got me my ears kind of perked up because right or probably wrong to do this, but I automatically assumed that CJ Carr was a pretty much a lock from Michigan. And at the very least, I did not see him considering a direct rival to Michigan, a long-time rival like Notre Dame. No, they're not in the Big Ten, but they are a long-time rival for the University of Michigan. So it was shocking. And no, he hasn't officially committed. I believe his commitment date is this Friday. But it seems to be we all know nowadays with social media there really are secrets among big time sports decisions, and so at this point it really wouldn't shock me with as many people that are speculating on it that CJ Carr commits to Notre Dame. Again, not official, but it sounds like that's where he's going. um and it's got I was shocked because with the season that Michigan had, winning the Big Ten, get into the college football playoff. Finally, Michigan is back on a national stage. Uh, you would think that Jim Harbaugh has stabilized the program in terms of, at least proving that they are a good program, maybe not a great one. I just thought I just didn't see CJ leaving, So, and then also Notre Dame, I think Freeman's going to be a really good coach, but he's also a first year coach. That's a huge win. So I mean, I just I got me thinking like what did this coaching staff do possibly wrong for this to go like this direction, for you to lose the hometown kid with so many family ties, deep ties to his university. And that's been one of the things I brought up to you, and I actually sent you a snapshot of a tweet that I saw from someone. It was echoing my points, which were, is it possible, and we don't know, right? So many things have to play out, but is it possible that the Michigan coaching staff, including Jim Harbaugh, also thought that CJ Carr was pretty much a given, and maybe put too much attention towards kids like Dante Moore, or at the very least, when not putting their full roll out the carpet efforts towards CJ because they just thought he's an automatic lock. Well, as a fan, I can do that. I don't have to roll out the red carpet. I can believe a player is a can't miss or a lock, but the coaching staff cannot do that. And it's very possible that this kid, like a lot of 18-year-olds, 17, 18-year-old kids, they want to go away to school. They want to make their own life. They want to set their own destiny. And I absolutely understand that, and I commend them for it. And I won't be mad regardless of what he chooses to do. This is kid's life. But it is a little. It does get me thinking. Like, man, maybe it's possible that they dropped the ball on this, and would it come back to bite them?
Yeah, and I to kind of repeat some points because, like I said, we had this conversation. To me, it depends on why you missed on CJ Carr. And let's assume that they did just because that's the way things are leaning. Obviously, we'll know more Thursday or Friday. But if you didn't get him on campus as far as him committing and going to Michigan because you felt like there were other guys who were better and higher when it comes to your evaluations and just everything that you took into consideration, that's fine. But if it is one of those things where you just assumed he was coming because, of his family ties here, I think, Dre, you mentioned, Lloyd Carr still has an office there. And I'm sure they saw, little CJ kind of running around and maybe they assumed that he was coming there just because of the family ties. If that's why you didn't get him committed, then that's egregious. Like you can't. Especially, I think it would be different if we were in the state of Ohio or if we were in Florida or Texas, California. We're talking about huge states and huge hotbeds for quarterbacks. I mean, there's not enough resources to hit every kid, every quarterback that's a 4 or 5 star like that. There's just too many of them. But to have one who is within close vicinity of your campus, who I'm sure probably comes at least on a monthly basis to visit his family and is just connected in so many different ways, to me, that would be egregious if they missed it that way. And as you mentioned, I can understand a kid wanting to do something different and carve his own path. I can understand all of that because in one thing I mentioned to you, Dre, was, I mean, I could imagine if you're an 18, 19-year-old kid and you're going to college, you would want to go to a college separate from one that your grandfather works at. Like, I can understand that. Like, you know what I mean? It's not
Absolutely.
If he goes somewhere else, it's not Michigan did a terrible job. But if it is because you didn't, like you mentioned, roll out the red carpet and you just assumed that you were going to have his commitment and letter of intent, or you thought Lloyd Carr was going to do that for you, I'm sure he would have, but I also can understand the family part of it to where you want your grandson to go wherever he wants to go. Like, yes, I'm sure Lloyd Carr still loves Michigan and is there on a regular basis, but if his grandson wants to go to Notre Dame, I feel 100% confident in saying Lloyd Carr is absolutely going to support his grandson going to Notre Dame.
Absolutely.
So to me, as long as you did everything that you could to get him on campus, or if it was one of those things where you just looked at it and maybe Dante Moore, you feel super confident and you just look at it and you say, there's probably not going to be room that next year for CJ to come here and play. Like if it may be a foregone conclusion in their minds of, well, if we have both these guys on campus, CJ's probably going to leave because Dante will be older and we're, going to assume he's going to play. And just in the environment that we're in with these 4 and 5 star quarterbacks, if they're not playing relatively soon and they don't see a path for that, they're transferring. So there's a lot that comes into it. But at the end of the day, my opinion is if he doesn't go to Michigan because they didn't do their work essentially, then that would be pretty unfortunate for that to happen. So, Mark, what say you?
All good points there, and I think we should keep in mind that when you have this kind of discussion and conjecturing about what a player is going to do or what they have decided to do, it's exactly what we're doing. It's conjecture. We
Right.
don't know, but they're
Right.
logical assumptions to make that he was thinking about. Between the two of you threw out a dozen different lines of thinking, and I'm sure you covered some of the ground that is reality. Maybe we should check the text messages between CJ Carr and JJ McCarthy. Maybe it's like they don't play the best quarterback. So
Ooh, that's another. That's yeah.
Nice shot. Woo.
But it's also, I think you guys just hit on a great point, especially in this day and age. So if CJ Carr was good enough to play at Michigan, but just barely good enough to play at Michigan, like he's a solid 3-star who really, he bleeds maize and blue. Really, it's been his lifelong dream to play major college football, and especially at Michigan. And he's just good enough. He's going to be a backup outside linebacker for most of his career. Then you shouldn't assume on anyone, but then in that situation, you can be like, you know, this kid's sold out on Michigan. He's been a Michigan fan his whole life. He's got legacy, and he's good enough to play here. But, you know, if he doesn't sign here, we're not losing any sleep. Versus this kid can play anywhere. We better, regardless of his last name, we better build a relationship and show that we're not taking him for granted.
Yeah,
I sure hope that's not the case.
Yeah, and I know that we've had people kind of, you know, join the stream since we started. So once again, like, you know, I'm not hitting the panic button. This was just a questions that were going on in my head, as in if CJ decides to go, which is look, I hope the kid does well. You know, this is an exciting time in his life. You know, and he's fortunate enough to have the skill set and the talent in which he can pick pretty much where he wants to go. You name the school that he wants to play for, essentially he has an offer to play for them. So that's great. But it was just like, okay, well, internally, did Michigan do everything that they could do to make sure the kids stayed home? Same thing with Dante Moore. And Desmond, another thing that I brought up to you is that it just, if the situation plays out that both Dante Moore and CJ Carr go elsewhere, none of them commit to University of Michigan, and especially if both of them leave the state, it will be like it'll be tough to swallow, because it's rare that we get highly rated quarterbacks like this locally here in our state. And we all know that, especially in today's college football, if you want to become an elite program, you want to compete on that elite stage, you got to have elite quarterback play. You have to. You can't just be solid. We all know Cade is solid to good, but he's not elite. You know, he's not a great college quarterback, right? He will only probably take this program so far, which is really good. But look, we're in the business of trying to one day get back to 1997 and be national champions. You know, that's what I'm interested in. And I believe that's what a lot of Michigan fans would like to see. So anything that would deter or make that road harder to get to, we have to bring up. And losing out on an opportunity to bring a possible high caliber quarterback into your program, no matter what their last name is something that we need to talk about and just kind of wonder. Now, look, they have JJ. The JJ train is going to start eventually, either this fall or definitely next fall. But we all know how volatile quarterback situations are in today's landscape of college football. Guys come and leave quickly, without hesitation, and really no roadblocks. So who's to say that maybe what if JJ doesn't get the job and he decides to leave, right? No, what if he has an injury? You know, God forbid, you know, that derails his career. Same thing with Cade. Des, you say it all the time. You know, you have to constantly be bringing in like high caliber quarterbacks, because, you know, these guys leave and go so much. You know, if you want to be on the elite stage, you probably need to have at least two guys at every given time that can play right away and pretty much have the ability to help win you football games, not just be placeholders. If you want to win 11, 12 games and be in a CFP and maybe even win a national title. So that's what I'm thinking about in terms of these situations playing now. No, there's no reason to panic. There's still plenty of really good quarterback prospects out there for 23 and 24 classes, and Michigan seems to be in the running for a few of them. But it would just be perplexing to see the local kid leave and obviously make his own path.